let's talk oiling systems of the small block Mopar, okay? Since this is somewhat of a hot ticket item or whatever. So here's just my take on it. And this is what I've found that works for me, okay? And my way is a whole lot simple. I mean, it's way more simpler than whatever's out there. Now, I don't know, there is a reference to drilling and copper tubing, the lifters, and I'm not talking about that, okay? I'm talking about a simple oiling mod you can do to get the oil flow that you want through the engine, okay? If you think it needs it, great. If it really doesn't, okay? I haven't had a problem with oiling. Now, if you want to spin this thing high RPM, maybe this is something you want to do. I just do it because, you know, I like to do overkill, okay? So here, I have a small block Mopar Magnum on the engine stand. Let me spin this around. Okay, you cannot spin the iPhone around mid-video, which is kind of crappy, but okay. I just got done installing this plug, and I just went to the No Name Nationals, and I'm back, and I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, look, I don't need to do all that. I don't need to drill these out bigger, and I just my 2 cents here, okay? When you go to drill this, it's not going to be fun to start drilling that. And then you have to get it straight. Because if the drill starts to walk, if you have a cheap drill and it starts to bend, because a drill will bend, it'll start curving. And you might miss the target. Now, another thing to take into consideration is who has a reamer. All right, who's going to stand there or buy a reamer for the size you drilled, okay? Because nothing is stronger than a hole, right? I mean, let's make the hole bigger. And I'll get to solving any kind of oiling issues for the street, right, later on. So when you go to drill this, you have a constant knurl, like a record has a ridge, right? You have all them ridges in that bore, right? So not only did you make it bigger, taking away the structure, okay, however little it may be, but now you got all these grooves in there, all right? And what are we taught, right? Take away the sharp edges. Take away the sharp edge. Well, now you got a whole spiraling sharp edge through there, okay? And who knows if it's straight. So you got to buy a reamer and make sure it's really polished in there, okay? So not only do we have that, we have drilling out the back of the block, which is, it's understandable, okay? You want the beginning of the oiling system to be as much volume as you can, okay, without compromising the pump. Now, mine's drilled out to 1730 seconds, okay? This is 1730 seconds. It's matched to the cap. You see how I kind of radius that a little bit, just a tad, because there's a witness mark where the cap was mating up against there. I was like, well, let me just radius that to the cap and be done with it, because that's already, you know, the half-inch drill bit just kind of slides in and out of there really easy. So I was like, all right, that's done. The only real modifications and drilling that I've done to this motor is just through here. Okay, I radiused that. I didn't bother drilling it. I just radiused it. Okay, and that's fine for what I want to do. See, that's fine. That's all you got to do. You don't have to drill. You don't have to break out the drill bit and start drilling on this thing. Nowhere does it really reference why and if you really need to drill out these oil passages. It really doesn't. Okay, there's only one guy out there that did it, and he got lines going there and here, and everyone links off of that and does their own little modification to it, and then adds another line and all that rigmarole. Okay, for me, for my street application, 7,000 RPM and lower, you're not going to need to modify any of this, all right? Some of these are drilled to 1/4 inch. These are drilled to 1/4 inch. This is a Magnum block out of a 2001 Dodge Durango. Some of them are drilled to 9/32, okay? Now, there are some 5/16 out there. I haven't ran across them, but apparently some people have, and they posted that they're 5/16 and you got to finish drilling them, okay? Now, let me show you something. Let me come up through here. All right, you see how smooth that is? Do you see any drill marks? No, I don't think so. That's smooth, all right? That's been reamed, right? When you go to drill on these things, you got a groove. And that groove, it doesn't help with flow, okay? So that's just my opinion. Now, some hoses are designed with a design on the inside to reduce friction loss, but don't confuse that with a drill mark, okay? Moving on. I have these drilled out, okay, and polished just ever so slightly. I didn't have to drill a lot. I just had to finish drilling a little bit, okay? You just want to have them come together without any restriction. That's it. Now, the only major oil modification that I did to this block, which I believe will solve the oiling issues, and you don't need a ton of line, you don't need a bunch of fittings, all you need is a 4-inch hose, okay? That's it. Your oiling starts here. Here's your pump, you got your drive, yada yada. So your oil travels up through a passage, gets to the mains, gets to the cam bearings. By the time it circulates through the block, okay, and gets to the very end, here's what you're dealing with. It's going through all this, and here is the end. This is the end of the line. When you get to this part, because the oiling system goes through the motor, oils the lifters, the cam, goes through here, it V's down, comes across, up and over. There's no real channel that connects this side from this side. So as the oil's traveling here, yes, there's a high velocity area here, but it's not what you think. Every single one of these is an orifice. So by the time you get over here, you hardly have any oil. Now, for a street car, that's fine. I mean, you really don't need a bunch of oiling everywhere. This is what I did. I took the closest point to the oil pump. This is tapped where you have your pressure gauge, okay? I tapped this into the block. I brought that, which is the closest point that I could find to the oil pump, over to the furthest part of the motor. Engine, if you want to be precise. I mean, there's some people out there that say, hey, you said motor, whatever. So I take the beginning, I put it at the end, and now you have oil not only feeding up through here, you got it also feeding in from the back. So all the oil is collecting through all the channels, all the passages. It's pressurizing. Now this is the furthest point. You get where I'm going? So now you're feeding it here, you're feeding it here, and it's all meeting here. That's all I did. It's simple. Now, another thing here. This hole right here, this hole, nobody talks about that hole, right? I'm going to talk about that hole. What is that? When this fills up with oil, that lubricates your thrust. Right there. It goes right down, drips onto your thrust. What I do to this motor also is I'll drill and tap this for a bigger bolt. See that? It's a bigger bolt hole right here. Why? Because I'll take a bigger bolt, I'll drill a hole straight through it, and now I have a drip for my timing chain and the front cover area. And that also will get on the front bearing. So the front of this engine is going to be protected by oil no matter what. I got the rear of it pressurized, I got the front of it pressurized, all traveling towards the front. I have this drilled, dripping oil to the front main as well, and to the timing gears. There's one other thing I wanted to show you. I gotta flip it back around. I forgot to show you when I had it the other way. Now, I have my thrust surface drilled right here. There's a tiny hole right there, and I just tap it through there. Do you need to do that? Absolutely not. But I'm running a lot of pressure in my transmission with a lockup converter. So all that pressure times the whole mathematical 3.14 whatever through the surface area, there's that much pressure putting on that thrust surface. So not only do I have oiling from the top going onto the thrust surface, I also have it going through the bearing. The bearing is drilled for the oiling. So that's what I do. It doesn't take a whole day. It doesn't take 2 days. It hardly takes a couple hours. And that's taking your time. Okay? Just make sure you get the angle right when you're drilling in there, because that's awfully thin. And you want to be as straight as you can to the center of that port. So that's it. That's what I do. No other major modifications. No other tubes, no other fittings other than those two and that one hose to fail. That's it. Done. Oiling complete.